Good evening. Call to order the Board of Trustees work session for June 2nd, 2025. Yes, it's June already. I can't believe it. Right. Discussion about the consultant services to review the current recreation programs. Mike, can I start on it? Oh, there he is.
Well, as we had discussed previously, we decided a little while ago to take a step back from hiring a director, or superintendent, or whatever for recreation, and really bring in somebody who knows the program better than all of us, Mr. Bettis. Talk to him about evaluating the program today, putting a plan together for the future, and basically hiring a consultant, hopefully him, to do that task for us, with the board as well as with the recreation committee if we're able to put one together, which I think Wayne's going to recommend. So I asked Wayne tonight to come and talk to you about what that looks like.
Thank you, Mike.
Just there's
One button.
No, on
my top.
I don't know little box.
Okay, got it, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Is that better?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you all. It's an honor to be here in front of you all and be able to present myself to you. I got my start in Elmsford. And I mean, I was born here. But in addition to that, when I developed an idea that I wanted to pursue recreation as a profession, I went to the mayor, DeAngelis at the time. We had George Williams was working on sanitation. He was doing some work with the kids. I was a younger man looking to, just get some basketball games going in the neighborhood. And that evolved into actually, Mayor DeAngelis and Mr. Ribeiro hiring me, or actually I did volunteer work for many years, eventually saying, hey, you deserve to make a couple dollars doing this. So I did that for, I don't even know how many years, right? Just right out of college. And it evolved into getting involved with the town of Greenburgh and having our players participate in the Greenburgh leagues under the town's jurisdiction, even though I was working at that time, I was working at Blue Cross Blue Shield in the city, which I worked for 10 years after I got out of college, and I was coming here in the evenings and on weekends and doing the work here. So ultimately, it just feels good, right? In a nutshell, I think you all have my resume. It's been 30 years. I'm embarking on retirement. I'm currently the commissioner in White Plains. I've been in that position for almost 14 years now. Prior to that, I was in the assistant superintendent in the town of Newcastle, which is Chappaqua, Ossining area, and served 4 years there. And 3 years prior to that, I was in White Plains and cultivated those relationships. But ultimately, Elmsford's always been home to me. It's always been a love of mine. I lived in the Bronx, I lived in the Bronx for 15 years. Nobody knows that. This is like, everybody's like, you lived in the Bronx? Because I spent all my time here. I just wanted to share with you guys, understand me, and those that know me, and many of you do know me, is my love has really always been about Elmsford. And I feel like when I was in Newcastle, that we might even have ventured down this path with the mayor at the time of, is it a potential for a full-timer being hired? And at the time, things didn't line up for me, and then White Plains came along, and that kind of knocked everything out of the box, White Plains being what White Plains is. But anyway, I believe I come with a wealth of knowledge, 30 years of experience. I know this community like all of you do. I love this community. I want to work with the kids in this community, with the adults in this community, with all that the community brings. My expertise is in programming and in management. Having managed the department in White Plains now for the last 14 years, I developed a host of programs that I see many of you at those programs, whether it's the ball drop or rock the block or, you know, all these major events there. I've been involved with the programs here, the Kwanzaa committee. Was involved with Halloween for a while. The tree lighting the Christmas program for many years. We've done a lot. My expertise in programming is finding the niche that isn't being filled. Who's not, you know, analyzing the needs of the community? Who's not being served? What's not being served? What do we need? Filling that need. Finding you know, a cost-effective way to fill that need. One of my other strengths, which goes back to my days of raising funds for special events, sponsorship, those sorts of things, to support recreation activities, bringing in revenue to offset the costs of these programs. That's another one of those things that I've been very strong at throughout my career. I would be happy to lead a committee of any sort to delve into the issue of developing a recreation department here in Elmsford. I do think it's needed. And there's a lot of players in the area and a lot of different people, as they say, cherry picking. People at the Theodore Community Center. Kids are going there. Kids are going to the Y After School program up there. Kids are going to Tarrytown to play football. Kids are going to Mad Dog Sports to play flag football. They're all over the place. I think the people of Elmsford, at least I believe the people in Elmsford, would like to have something that's being held right in the community. And we are doing some things, but I think it needs to be more comprehensive, or could be more comprehensive. But ultimately, I think a needs assessment has to be done, meeting with all the stakeholders, from the village board down to all of the residents, to the businesses, community groups, the school district, churches, meeting with everybody, getting everybody's input of what they'd like to see, and then building from there. I think we could review our associations with the town of Greenburgh. Not sure where we stand with our associations there. We played in their leagues for many years. Their leagues are not doing what we played softball together, Joe, for many years, in soccer, right? And so they're no longer running those programs, which has left us in an awkward position. And how do we do that now? Elmsford Little League, I'm not sure where we stand with our relationship with them. You know, so I feel like you need that person to build those relationships and build those alliances and get our kids involved. And if they are involved, that's a good thing. Then maybe we don't need it. But if they're not involved, or if they want to be involved and haven't figured out how to be involved, then that's something that I think we can do here. Assess our facilities, our current programming, our strengths and our weaknesses. Once again, our potential partnerships. I thought about Westchester Skating Academy. Do we do anything with them? I'm not sure, but they're in our backyard. Hardball is here. Mad Dog Flag Football. There are facilities here that maybe we could partner with, and even if it's just getting discounts for residents to attend on behalf of the village, that's a good thing. Think we have to develop a recreation philosophy. What does the village want? What do you really want to see? What is our philosophy? How are we going to approach these things? And then, of course, you know, what would it cost and what would you need to start up, right? Think of registration software, a package of software that I'm not sure how we would do registration here now. We're actually currently using my Next Level. I don't think that would be appropriate going forward, right? Collecting fees, you know, what type of personnel that would be involved with doing that as well. But in a nutshell, I'm willing and able to help, and would love to serve the board here, the community here.
Thank you for taking the time out of your evening to come join us. It's always a pleasure to see you also. We had a nice conversation back in December, you know, and I'm glad that this is getting closer to getting done, so thank you for always being there for the kids and everybody else.
Thank you.
Anybody else, any questions?
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Wayne. Reports home. Review the draft law for the different vehicle traffic that we had talked about. First one. First one is on the east side of South Hillside Avenue from Main Street to about 90 feet up. So marked up there on the hill. The reason for that was on Fridays, alternate side would allow vehicles to park there, and then it takes up the lane because it's off-center there. Because parking is on the west side mainly, and when they park in there on Friday, it becomes one lane, and the cars and buses, especially coming down the hill, are over the yellow line, and the cars are coming up Main Street right into them. So now this will give them enough room for enough cars and buses and stuff to get into the correct lane before they get to the traffic lights.
Just a question with the regular It says parking or standing. Is it supposed to be no parking or standing? Or is it paragraph saying no parking?
How does that,
What's it, which law you looking at?
the top one,
The first one, local law for.
where it says amend on it, the second paragraph?
Yeah, it says-
Yep, okay.
No, not the F, it says in parentheses, parking or standing, to add the following new text. All right, what are we doing then? Because you're not sure whether you're allowed to park there or standing. I mean, I think the intent is we want to say no parking.
Well, yeah, but the beginning of the section talks about.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
Prohibited.
that's what we asked, at the beginning of the section, saying no parking or standing.
Right. And then we're just adding the section FF, but the beginning of the section goes through a list. But it starts off, no parking or standing, lists all the roads that it applies. We're just adding an FF.
Big shots. My question was, I assume that's what it was, but I was going to make sure.
Yes, if you look at section 316.14, it basically states here, except in emergency or compliance with the direction of the peace officer, no vehicle, motor vehicle, motorcycle, bicycle, omnibus, bus shall park, stand, or be standing at any times or times in the following locations. And it goes all the way from A through EE at this point, so we're just adding that. That's the introductory paragraph of
All
law.
right. And you have the whole code in front of you.
Yep.
The second one is to prohibit a right turn on red from Main Street onto Hartsdale Road. And the reason we discussed that was the crosswalk there, which a lot of kids cross, and people going to church. And what happens if you don't stop, it doesn't give people time to cross in the crosswalk there that crosses Hartsdale Road, and they're constantly making a light on red, so it's unsafe for the people crossing. So this one was try to give some relief to the people that have commercial vehicles to park in the light industry zone, which that's where all the trucks are now. Because they have no place to park, and they're just trying to get the commercial vehicles out of the residential areas. Since they're not allowed to bring them home, and some people only have those commercial vehicles because they don't have a second vehicle. Some of them are allowed under the new code to park at home. Ones that they're allowed to park in the driveway with a commercial plate, but can't have any signs or ladders or anything on it. This will allow for some of the people that have some of those trucks that already have a place to park. We'll see how that works.
This one, which I don't think is included, where you talked about putting a sunset on it.
And the sunset was also on the other one as well, the parking stand.
Which one?
Just the,
There's only one that, I read from the sunset.
Is that one?
does, it's on, says it expires December 31st, 2025. That's the no parking one. I don't know if that's the one we want to do.
That's gonna have, that's not long, modified on that.
I think that the sunset should come off of that one and go on the last one with the commercial vehicles.
Yep. Just make that change.
And so on page one, where it says this subsection FF will expire on December 31st on the first page, cross that off.
Okay.
And then add that to the third one, which is the commercial vehicle.
Sure.
So basically, that last one is a trial, and if it doesn't work, we'll let it expire and it goes back to normal, or if it does, we would then renew it and make it more permanent. Do you think 6 months was enough time, or did we want to go longer with that?
We talked about 6 months at the last meeting. I figure that should be enough, my humble estimation.
Yeah, that's what I suggested, I didn't know if you guys thought you wanted to go longer.
Usually a good indicator for that time.
We're on the first week.
Yeah, pretty much.
Trustee Caulfield, here for the agenda?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Lopez? Yes. Thank you, sir. Trustee Durant? Thank you. And Trustee Flowers?
Yes.
The VOC meeting was in May. Hosted by Ardsley. First item was Assembly Member Mary Jane Shinsky came and she gave an update on state issues. It's everything that she puts out in her email and things that you just see going on around the state. So she's giving us the good news and the bad news. So, it was brought up again about to have the implicit bias training scheduled for this year. It's going to be a change of topic, so it won't be that. It'll be a change of the name and a change of training, but it's still basically the same concept. So it would still be the same half a day, and give a lot more days so everybody could go. So Ardsley is speaking to, they took lead on it last time. They're talking to the person who gave the class last time and seeing if they could tweak it. Ardsley was asking if possibly an audit can be done on the Greenberg A budget. The A budget is the one that encompasses all the villages to find out if they're appropriating all the money currently where it's supposed to go. So, looking into that. Number 4 is looking into getting energy credits for NIPA near a power authority. He's taking lead on that, so we'll get back to you and find out if we'll be eligible for that. 5, some are having problems getting paid from Greenberg for their fire protection district coverage. Ardsley is 2 years behind right now, so they were asking the assembly member if there could be a deadline on when it has to be paid. We're always within the year anyway, but a lot of the other villages are Ardsley's 2 years behind. Tarrytown is still fighting with the town of Greenberg to try and get the cannabis tax money. As I reported last time, there's a percentage of it, and the town doesn't want to give them any. So they're trying to work with the town to get it all, saying that, well, their cannabis place is in Tarrytown, why should the town get any money? Tarrytown is hiring a parking consultant. They're doing a study on all parking aspects, from how much to charge, where they should have it. There are a couple communities Irvington has no parking meters, and Dobbsbury doesn't right now, but they're going to be to pay by apps and stuff, so they're carrying out Zoom total review. As we reported, all the, there's 40 communities, municipalities, all of them that are serviced by Con Ed. There are a couple, even though there's 45 communities, five communities are not covered by Con Ed. They're in NISAC upstate. So all 40 communities that joined the fight with Con Ed, and we all chipped in, so that made the cost come way down. We're dividing that amongst equally, and as you saw the report that was given so far, it's very extensive and it was very nice to read. They brought in a lot of expert witnesses to fight that, so we'll see where it goes. There's a resolution from the river towns about Harriet Tubman Way, that runs along the river towns, because that's where Harriet Tubman went, and so the river towns are getting together to do resolutions to let that be known along the Broadway corridor. Hastings is taking lead on the mayor's Monarch Pledge. That's, she wants to have a competition on how the mayors welcome the butterflies to grow and places for them to live and stuff like that. So we'll get into that. Hastings is looking into changing the construction hours that people are working. So we kind of everybody shared stories on when their hours are. Some of them are basic hours, some of them are noise, some of them are different days of the week and holidays, some of that. So we all shared what everybody else does. Ramp up is, Hastings is taking lead on that. That's they have a wealthy resident who wants to donate 100 free ramps to businesses to make it easier for wheelchairs to have access to their business. Nothing really fancy, will be ADA accessible, but they were asking if that does come to play, that we could make the permits easier and fast. And they're simple, like in other words, if there's a little lip or something and you can't get into the store, they gotta donate 100 of those ramps so that we can get the wheelchair into the business and things like that. Nothing, elaborate where the big zigzags and stuff like that. So, we'll see if she's gonna look into that and contact the resident again and see if they wanna proceed. We all started to get the draft IMAs from the county for the EV charging stations. So Mike's looking at that. As soon as we get those, we'll brief you on that. CB Hollow is having a music festival down at their park on June 7th. They had asked us if we can help promote it, which I did. I sent it out. And they also, again, asked for help for parking, and they're doing the same thing. If people can go up or down the community and take the train in, it'll be easier rather than trying to get all those cars into Terry and City Hollow. But it sounds like a good event. City Hollow is looking into getting a good dental insurance plan for its staff. Nacerta is doing a solar panel project in Sleepy Hollow. They want to know if anybody wants to do one, and we've looked into that already. We don't have the space for it. If anybody's putting up any buildings, municipal buildings, or fixing or some of that, and if you have any ideas to help make them better, we can share it with our group, and some of them had just did some, so they have some information, so if we're doing anything, we can share it with them, and they might have some ideas what to look out for already, because they went through it. It was also asked, how many communities do the payment in lieu of parking? Some of them have different tiers of how many spaces. In other words, if we're approving a project and it's not enough parking, then the applicant pays you X amount of dollars for different steps of, for example, if you're 5 short, you pay this much. If you're 10 short, you pay this much, et cetera, et cetera. So, and that money can only be used for parking things, parking meters, adding spaces, developing things like that. So, it's an else here? Mike, brief us on the 2025 tax bill, please.
Must be. So, tax bills, we only talk about them when we're talking about changing them, and when we do change them. So it's not very often we actually talk about the tax bill itself. About a year ago, we made an effort to change our tax bill, change our tax bill processes, and I'm thankful to say that we made it for June 1st. The tax bills have gone out, the new tax bills, they're formatted differently. They've brought us to the 21st century. We made a change when we went to Edmunds that brought us to the 18th century, and now we've gone the next step. So the bill is formatted better. It has a lot more information on it. A couple of good things about it is we don't print it here anymore, and we don't mail it from here anymore. We also don't pay for that anymore. So the bills are done by a third party. The whole thing is processed through us. One change this year, which happened a couple times ago when we made a change, everybody's getting a tax bill. Whether you have a mortgage or not, you're going to get a tax bill. So you know what it is. Your mortgage company is also getting that tax bill. And actually on the tax bill it says, which we know we're going to get a lot of phone calls, we started today because it's something different. There is a place where it says bank code on it, and if that's blank, then doesn't go to a bank. If there's a code there, it goes to the bank. So you know that it went to your mortgage guy. It's better, I think, that everyone knows what their bill is, not just assuming that it's going to the mortgage company and the mortgage company is paying. The other change this year which is now the next step, we went to water first. We have set up a lockbox where when you mail processed reduction. Hopefully that occurs here too. Reduction in next step, which we're not too far away from, is our online portal payments for both water and tax. We could have rushed and possibly had it for June 1st, but it wasn't the right thing to do because it wasn't ready. It probably wouldn't have had mistakes, but there was potential for. Antoinette, who did yeoman's work in putting this together, as well as Anna, as well as Mike Michigan, and as well as Neil, since he's been on, and Mike and Azo before that. There was a lot of work to get this done to make sure these things work, because it goes from, there's 3 different programs involved, 3 different vendors involved, and they're simple mistakes. I can tell you, got it, and then she would say, "Oh no, I found a mistake," and it's just something simple of it's the wrong date for the tax warrant or the wrong affects the bill, but just those little nuanced things that you're looking at these things, so long that you're going to miss. We think we got them all, and that's where any questions I'd be more than happy to talk about. But again, I really want to thank Anna, Antoinette, Neil, and Mike, and the other Mike as well. They put a lot of time and effort into getting this done.
As we know, we always have Elmsford Day. It's part of the,
I just wanted to say one other thing. Not only is it good that you see your bill, but you can keep it for your taxes too. You have to show what taxes you paid for your taxes, for your real estate. So So that's what I've been telling everybody when they're calling. You're also gonna keep it, you're gonna need it for when you do your income tax. So it's a good thing that you see it too, escrow too. So it's not a bad thing to get that copy.
Do you think if we put a blurb on the website, it would help you not to get so many phone calls? Or do you think it won't matter?
We can talk about it.
Yeah, think about that.
Actually, I forget the number, but there's not as many, I said this to somebody today, there's not as many things that go to the mortgage companies that we would think. Because for some reason, there's a lot of mortgages that have been paid off, and there's also a lot of cash transactions. But it can't hurt to just throw something on there, just to point it out, take a picture of it, highlight it.
Highlight that section
Yeah,
where
we-
this went to your bank.
Yep. Good.
So, again, every year we have Elmsford Day, usually the first Saturday in October. The board has always been very nice to fund that in the celebration thing. Talking to the events coordinator, and if you remember, in the early Elmsford days, for the first 10 of them or so, we had a small parade prior to Elmsford Day, and we had the parade, and we went right down to the field and started Elmsford Day. We were kicking around the idea to do one again this year because it's the 115th anniversary of the village, and also it would be a good idea to have the two retiring nuns from Mount Carmel be a Grand Marshal. If we need another day to thank them and highlight them and stuff. So, if everybody's in favor of having a small parade like we always do, we used to do before Elmsford Day, we'll basically call the high school band, come down, and we have our same group, same as Memorial Day. We just, and start this in place, and just something.
Just end up in a different place.
Yeah, just end up a different place. Yeah, we go right instead of left. But I think because of those couple of reasons, it'd be nice to do something like that. So, okay, very good. One thing I'm gonna change to the department heads is, report of your accidents. Usually it's, myself and the administrator when any vehicles, village vehicles get to an accident. I'm also gonna add on there the trustee liaison to your departments. Please notify all three of us, and, please notify us. There was a couple that slipped through the cracks, so let's, make sure that we know, because the worst thing that I know I can, and I know my colleagues will too also, is, being told from somebody on the street that we got to an accident, and I have to look dumb at them, and don't know what happened, so make sure that information gets to us, please. A couple of my colleagues had mentioned a couple of ideas. They would like to go back to, and again, one of them was asked, and we just put together a list of things that I was asking us to review. When we hire staff, we don't want to be involved in the approval process on the police department. It's their job, and we would like to go back to reviewing them, evening with them to interview them. Same with the other staff, and then make sure that we see everybody before they get hired in all departments. See names and things like that. So, everybody okay with that? Come back to that. Joe?
Yep. So you want to interview the PD candidates?
Just for an interview, not for hiring, just to see them, yeah. Again, the commissioner does that, but we'd like to see them, just sometimes a nose at her eyes or a feeling of the person. So.
Before we take the phone call, he's down in the place I trust him, because that is the most place I trust him. Choose the right person. I don't know if you want it, but it's sort of like something that really not trusting.
No, it's just, well, not my, that wasn't my thought.
Yeah, but I look at it as it was good that we turned completely everything and we stepped out of it.
Yeah, but just, I'm sorry, just so you know, it has nothing to do with trust. We just wanna be able to see them face to face. Talk to them for a couple minutes. That's all it is. Nothing to do with this.
I would think from my point of view, being new at this, it would be an awareness for me. Nothing against any of the department heads.
Another idea was brought up from my colleagues, one colleague asked to look into the way the police department pre-checks its vehicles. Police department had, I don't know if you still have it, had a check sheet of when the vehicle would go out, the person would check it for damage, check the lights work, et cetera, et cetera. And then it would get signed off, there's a dent on it, they would circle it, right, this is a little.
We still have it.
Okay. It was asked of me to ask everybody, if it's okay that all the departments do that. This way, it shows that, whoever takes a vehicle out is now responsible for the damage, and nobody can say, oh, that didn't happen, I didn't do that, so now it's checked before it goes out. And it'll be more accountability on, a truck comes back or a car comes back and says, no, I didn't do that, well, yeah, you did or you didn't, because it says on the check sheet, so I know it works great with the PD. Unless you can pipe in, it's not, yes,
Right.
I have guys that jump in trucks, like PD, you're assigned to that truck for an 8-hour period. I might have a guy that drives 6 trucks in a day. They all do that, jump around, and that would be more time consuming and a waste of time.
At least in the beginning of the day, when the truck leaves itself, and then you can listen to the
Yeah, but, so for instance, if I jump in the truck at 7 in the morning,
Right, no, in other words, if you,
say, okay, this 4 of the people that drive that truck.
that's fine, but then you know who the 4 people are. So in other
No,
words.
I won't. Because you kind of, you're on the site, this guy's jumping in, if I'm not on the site with him. So,
No,
you know what I
that's the
mean?
point, you're going to know from now on who got in that truck. So, in other words, in the morning, you check the truck, right?
Yeah.
Hear me out. You hit check the truck, see what damage is there. So if the left quarter panel is hit on that truck, you mark it down as hit. So when the truck comes back, you know it's already hit, right? Now, if the truck comes back with a new dent that's not on the sheet from the morning, somebody during the day that drove that truck did that. So whoever drove the truck during the day, well, now you have to figure out which one of the ones that did it. It has to be accountability. You can't just, not just you, I'm not saying just your department, but there's other ones, some of them trucks look like they went through the war, and that shouldn't be, and we don't know, who's dented all these trucks. They shouldn't be, you look at other communities' trucks and they're not as bad. Not your department, all of them, this is close for everybody, fire department, everybody. So when those trucks go out, they gotta be checked during the day, and once in the morning, and then if 5 drivers drive it, you'll know who. If it comes back dented, you just ask, okay, who drove the truck today? Right, was that the concept? Whoever asked me that? I was also asked to ask about details on vehicles. I just wrote it down. It was
I lost my note.
a.
Safety striping. Watch your signs. Down.
I just wrote decals.
Yeah, safety markings and detail, larger decals.
On, what was it, every?
On the vehicles, on the trucks, especially. Across the back of pickup trucks, dump trucks. Put the safety markings on that every other municipality has across the back.
What do you got, they should be under now, the red and white stripes, right?
Red and white or
Oh,
yellow
we
and
have the
black.
village emblems,
Across the back, like
Our
bumpers on the
larger
dump
trucks
trucks.
require that, yes.
Right,
Yeah.
but on the pickup trucks, across either the back bed or on the bumper,
Simple enough.
yeah, I didn't think that was crazy cost to add that. Yeah, it matches what like Greenberg has, seen in Briarcliff, other places. Every truck is marked nicely and,
We're talking just trucks.
I think what we want is every single official is going to be marked.
yeah, I mean, police cars are well marked, so,
No.
well, the ones that are deemed to be not marked, we're not gonna mark.
No, I'm just talking, look at some, Tony's vehicle, mayor's vehicle, detective vehicle, they don't have those types of marks on.
So I would think that the detective vehicle should be excluded from that, because at times they're undercover. I think we could discuss how Tony feels about it and how the mayor feels about it, if they feel that they're in situations where they're on the road. My thought was mostly when we're stopped on a road somewhere, that we have good marking, because people are not paying attention. We know people are not paying attention when they're driving. So let's have good markings on all our vehicles, so if something happens, hey, our vehicles were well marked. This person should have seen this. Yes.
Yeah, but you just want to make sure that we
No. Right. Mike, you got that. We're not talking about the police vehicle.
These vehicles have lights, so they don't need stickers.
Right. Fire department and EMS are well lit and stickered, so it's just more the, I guess, the highway, water, whatever other vehicles we have in the village that might be out on the streets for whatever reasons that currently aren't marked well.
No, the 3 vehicles I just spoke about, they all have lights, right? Tony, you have lights? Yeah, has lights. Brian, your truck has lights?
Yep.
Joe, lights? Obviously, all your stuff has lights. Okay.
I guess they asked about standardizing uniforms for public works.
Well, contractually, they are.
Maybe we can remind them that they're supposed to all match, all look the same.
Is that,
I mean, to get a uniform allowance, shouldn't it all be the same?
Well, it lists what they get, have to, what they have to wear in the contract. I don't think it talks about colors.
no, the only color is that bright when they're on the road,
Right.
which it all applies
They
to
don't
now.
know.
They don't know
Is there anything in there about having their names on things?
No. It lists the types of things that they're supposed to have, the minimum types of things.
I don't think that all that necessarily has to be a contractual thing. On what the uniform is, like the PD is not, it's a directive by the department, by the board.
Yeah, but it's in the contract now is what it's
Well, I
saying.
know, but in other words, if we decide to add, like you just mentioned, names, we can have them put names on their shirts or
So
something.
we'll pay for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, they do, I mean, it's a uniform allowance.
No, but what I'm saying is it doesn't include that now, so
No, I
you would
know.
have to pay for that if we're
Right.
gonna add it now. And then if we don't have, years ago, we went away from the uniform company. So that kind of took away from things being standardized. And then we were using one vendor solely to purchase most of our things through. They had to go there, so there's 2 things that occur. They get a check to maintain and basically wash their uniforms, and then they get an allowance, which is to replace things. But the allowance isn't paid to them. The allowance is paid at one time it was paid directly to a vendor, so they got a voucher for $400, they could go spend $400. They buy the list of things, including boots and gloves and jackets and things like that. That vendor's gone out of business, so we've used various other vendors. So, I mean, one of the things that would probably help make it more uniform is if we went back to one or two vendors, so the only choice is certain things. I don't know if those people exist locally anymore, so we'll look into that. But I mean, if you want names and things, that's gonna be an extra expense, and we're gonna have to bite the bullet and pay for that initially. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you want a name on everything, jacket, t-shirt, regular shirts, you know, that's a lot of stuff to change right now.
Do they say Village of Elmsford?
Some stuff does, most of the stuff don't have that anymore, most of it.
I mean, I don't know about
The department
necessarily
heads,
having
the
their,
department heads all have stuff that say Village of Elmsford, that's also going to be involved too.
I don't know if they would necessarily have to have their names on there. But I think it would be good if their shirt said Village of Elmsford, so people are aware of who they are. And if I can be frank, I'd really like them to look cleaner than they do.
Well, sometimes that's tough.
I'm not talking about at the end of the day, I'm talking about at the beginning of the day.
Let me go over that with these guys and see what we can come up with, and come back to you with that.
Motion to adjourn the work session? All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Please, Russ.